and welcome to Design and Business Conversations for Creatives. I'm Cheyney and today I'm chatting with you about doing your own design. I wanted to do this video because I'm in New Zealand and I work with a lot of small businesses and see a lot of small businesses with small budget come to me for a logo and then continue on to do their own graphic design. As a business owner myself, particularly at the beginning, I really understand this, and I think that New Zealand has a very big culture of DIY, do it yourself. In this video, I will go through some design principles, the fundamentals, which is a crash course in graphic design. I will then move into the area of safety, so how you can protect yourself if you are going to be doing your own design. I'll then go into quality, how you can ensure that your designs are looking as premium as possible for a DIY job. I will then discuss some of the programs that you can use for your design. And lastly, I'll discuss with you why I think it is important to work with a graphic designer and how working with a graphic designer can actually save you money. Number one, design fundamentals. I studied for 4 years at university, and in that time I learned a lot about conceptual thinking. And when people come to me for design, they're paying for the technical skill, but they're also paying for the conceptual thinking and the creativity. And what I'll do today is share with you a couple of little tidbits of information that can help elevate your DIY design. The number one thing that I notice straight away when people decide to do it themselves with design is issues with consistency. Loads of fonts, loads of images with different tones and feels, and generally just lacking a cohesiveness. I always recommend, if you are going to outsource any of your design, start with the logo. From there, putting your logo into your own design is going to be a lot easier if you've had a professional work on a look and feel for your brand and work on a tone of voice that you want to communicate with your ideal audience. Work with a color palette. Less is more. This also goes with fonts. Choose a couple of fonts to work with and just stick with them. That way you can ensure the message that you're delivering to your clients is clear, concise, consistent, and looks professional. If you're somebody that wants to use 20 different fonts, I would suggest you work with a designer to do this properly. Another thing that I see when people are doing their own design, the busyness of the design and not honoring the white space and the breathing room for all the design elements to breathe and sit in a space calmly and peacefully. When you're delivering a message, you want to capture your audience quickly. And as a designer, it is our job to guide the viewer's eye around the page and direct people where to look first. So this is what's known as hierarchy. You want to break down the information and sort out what is the most important and what would you like your viewers to see first. Hierarchy can be demonstrated in a number of ways, such as color, font choice, bold font if you want something to be seen first, scale, big to little. And this all ties into layout and composition as well. The rule of thirds will be very useful when you're plotting out your design composition. Another thing to consider is the balance of your design. Are you wanting to communicate some tension? And if so, perhaps you'll consider an unbalanced layout. Or are you wanting somebody to feel balanced and soothed when they look at your design? And if that's the case, you're going to want to create a balance within your layout that makes people feel at ease when they look at your design. This is literally dipping your toes into the design fundamentals. The next thing I want to talk to you about is safety. What do I mean by this? When you pay a designer, you're paying for their knowledge and their skill and their experience that they've developed for years and years and years. And part of this, which a lot of people don't realize, is the safety in design. Are your images and fonts that you're using free for commercial use? Or are you inadvertently ripping off another artist that could land you in some deep water? If you're using images within your design, say you are a hairdresser and you are creating a pamphlet. If you're using images that you have taken in the salon of your clients, have you had your client's permission to use that photo for marketing purposes? Or if you're taking images off the internet, are these either paid for images or free for commercial use? This is something that is very, very, very important. Just because something is on the internet, it doesn't mean that it is free for you to use. There is a search filter in Google where you can actually check the images and filter for 100% free use public domain. You'll find there aren't many options available, and that is because when people put things on the internet, they're not usually putting them on the internet for other people to, and I know it's a harsh word to use, but steal. Ways to get around this: if you don't have a big budget and you're just a small business and you're wanting to DIY your own design and make sure that you do it safely, you can use what's called free for commercial use licensed images or fonts. Certain sites like Unsplash, Pexels, and Kaboom Pics, and a whole lot more, I'll link these below. They have artists that contribute to their website, that upload images that are free for commercial use. And I found this out recently in YouTube comments, somebody asked me about it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually always free for commercial use. There are people that rip off stock images that aren't free for commercial use and put these on the free site. So it isn't always the safest way to do it. However, it is a lot more safe than taking it off the internet. My best advice if you're going to be using any images is search for the license. Just because it is free for commercial use, it doesn't mean that the artist has intended that to be sold. So for example, downloading an image from one of these sites and then blowing it up on a canvas and selling it might be a huge no-no. So there is a difference between using the images for commercial purposes and marketing and actually reselling the images. The same goes for fonts. So to break it down, there are font designers in the world and they create these beautiful fonts, and for some reason, I notice this all the time working in the creative industry, people assume that because it's on the internet, it's up for grabs, whereas these font designers have spent years and years and years developing these beautiful fonts for us to use, and that's their living. So you need to pay for the fonts. Just because it's a system font on your computer, it doesn't mean that it's free for commercial use. Purchase the fonts or make sure they're free for commercial use. The best place to find free for commercial use fonts is dafont.com, which I'll link below. And again, make sure that you're filtering it by 100% free public domain. Then also, when you download the file, it will come with a user agreement, and make sure you read the user agreement and ensure that the fonts are free for commercial use. I have seen it sometimes when I download the font off Dafont and go into the user agreement, and I've had the font with the check mark on 100% free for commercial use, but then I've read the license and it isn't in fact free for commercial use. Sometimes the font designer will encourage you to donate, and I've done that from time to time, or if I've used stock images or stock fonts that are free for commercial use, sometimes if I've used them for my own marketing purposes, I've actually tracked down the designer and linked the designer and just given them the credit where credit is due. The next thing I want to go into is quality. 9 times out of 10, I can spot the difference between a professional designer's design and someone who has chosen to DIY their design. One big giveaway comes with the quality, particularly if the design has been printed. There are differences between print quality and screen quality. So when you are using images, make sure that you're using massive images. Make sure that you aren't scaling them, only scale an image down, and having a high quality image will make your design look more polished. Another thing to consider is what you're printing on. So if you're printing on your design, have you thought about printing on a paper that's just a step up from your average printer grade paper? That can make a huge difference in how your design is perceived. Moving on to programs that you can use. Canva is the biggest one. So Canva is great. I have only used it 2 or 3 times, and I've put together some templates for clients in Canva who do want to do their own designs. It's very intuitive for the average user. If you're doing mock-ups, use placeit.net, Kapwing to make little movies and videos and animate your graphics. If you have access to design software such as Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, there are some really great tutorials on YouTube. Same with Canva, there will be tutorials of how to get the best of the program, and if you are deciding to do your own graphics, I highly recommend you look into these tutorials so you know how to do it properly and save yourself time. This is a little side note, but one thing that as a designer I hear so often is, I have been doing things on Photoshop. What have you been doing on Photoshop? Posters and invites, and I'm like, oh, Photoshop should be used for manipulating and retouching images only. If you're using type or fonts in your designs, make sure that you're using Illustrator or InDesign, something that is vector-based. A quick little rundown on the difference between an image and a vector is an image is made out of pixels, so little tiny squares, which means that if you create a design and you blow it up to be on the side of a building, it will look rubbish. It will pixelate, won't be any good. But if you're using vector-based, that means that it'll scale without diminishing the quality of the design. So you can imagine if you create a poster and scale it to the side of a building, it's nice and crisp and clean. The other thing is web-safe colors. If you're going to be doing your own design, look up web-safe colors and use them. Web-safe colors just ensures that you're going to have the best color consistency across different screens. So you might have noticed one time in a design, if you've DIY'd your design, you do say a light blue, and on your iPad it looks like a certain color, and on your computer it like's gone neon all of a sudden. You're like, what is happening here? Use a web-safe color. That is the best way to ensure that that won't happen. It does limit your color palette, but it does just make things a whole lot more consistent. My last point is hire a graphic designer. Sure, at the start you might not have the budget to, and I totally get it, and use some of these tips to make sure that you're creating the best designs that you can. But hiring a designer will actually save you money in the long run. If you're running a business, you want to be doing what you're good at. You want to be spending your time as wisely as possible. Something that might take you 2 days to create on the computer might take a professional and an experienced graphic designer half an hour, which, if you calculate what your time is worth, will save you a whole lot of money. Having a graphic designer will ensure that your designs are consistent and high quality. Two of the most important things that I think when you're looking for a graphic designer is make sure that you like their style, because it's very difficult to bend out of your style. I have a certain style, and sometimes I'll get a client that will challenge me on something and push me slightly out of my comfort zone, and I'm really thankful for that. It pushes me into a direction that I wouldn't usually take it into, but I'm happy with the result and the client is also happy with the result. Make sure that you like your designer's style. If they have a certain style, it's likely that what you're asking them for will look in that similar kind of style. And the second most important thing is make sure you're a good fit. I cannot stress this enough. It's a relationship. You need to be happy, the designer needs to be happy, and you need to work together to ensure that you're getting the best design. I recently did an interview with Jo White from Simply White Design, and she talks about that in our interview, so I will link that up here. I can't remember which side, but I'll link the card so you can go and watch that video. She has some very good advice. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up or subscribe using the button below. Hit the notifications bell, and I'll see you next time. Bye!